What's up, everybody? Welcome to the show. This is the Fantasy Football Fanatics podcast, the official podcast of the fantasyfootballfanatics.com. It is Tuesday, January 9th. I am your host, Griffin Palmer, joined by the one, the only, CJ, the Hitman Hickman. CJ, what's up, buddy?
Hey there, hi there, ho there. What's going on, guys?
Hey, man. How about those playoffs?
Hey, man. Some crazy stuff. Unfortunately, lost some money with that Kansas City Titans game. You know, thank you, Andy Reid. Thank you for that. And but I mean, some good games though. I mean, at the end of the day, great games. You got that Titan game we just talked about. That was absolutely ridiculous. And it was like, for me watching the game, I was like, okay, yeah, I think these Chiefs are losing this game, especially that nasty hit that Kelsey took. Man, and it was I mean, you saw if you were watching the game from the beginning, you stayed and watched it, man. You saw the ebbs and flows of Kansas City's offense. You know, they would run the ball, get a couple yards, do a pass play on second down, and then third down, they're looking for Kelsey. And it was working, and they were scoring points. Defense wasn't in a tough position. Things is flowing. And as soon as Kelsey gets out, everything just goes to crap. And it's like defense is opening up plays. Mariota's having a hell of a game, and congrats to him and Derrick Henry, who's going to be an absolute beast next year for fantasy.
Oh yeah,
I mean that's going to be just wonderful.
Do you think that the Chiefs lose that game if Travis Kelce doesn't go out?
Absolutely not.
I agree.
Yeah, absolutely not. The way the flow of the game was going, no, I don't.
Because, I mean, yes, it's a team sport, but the Chiefs have a very set offense, and the Titans were limited on defense. They could basically, and I think the commentators even said something to this effect at one point, like, you can take away one or two of the options, and depending on which two were covered, they'd go to the third guy, of course, meaning Tyreek Hill, Kareem Hunt, Travis Kelce. And so with one of those weapons out, they tried to spread it out, but it just wasn't working. The offense really sputtered, and it went from being, 21-3 at halftime to a 22-21 game. Titans come back and win it. So...
Yep.
I mean, if you guys listen to our Patreon show, we didn't call this. We thought the first half was what we predicted, that the Chiefs were going to walk away with this one. The Titans might make it a game, but we thought the Chiefs were going to win, and, well, we were wrong.
0 for 1.
0 for 1. Well, actually, we were 0 for 2 on the Saturday games, weren't we? Because we also unanimously had the Rams winning, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We I think we ended up splitting 2 for 2 at the end of the weekend, because we both had the Jaguars, and then of course we had we
both had the Saints.
The Saints, the Saints. That was a great game by Drew Brees. People disrespecting Drew Brees, man. But you take away that, I mean, I think people just got lost in the hype of that running game, and when you took that away, you forget that you still have a guy that passes for 5,000 yards.
Absolutely.
You still got that guy right there.
Yeah, and for all of our listeners right now who aren't subscribed over on Patreon, and if you want the extra shows where we do more in-depth stuff, that's on patreon.com/thefantasyfootballfanatics. Support the show, get bonus content. It's good stuff, guys. But we were talking about this game, and that was one thing we pointed out. Like, everybody's all hyped about this running game, and, this top 5 running attack. It was like the top rushing attack for like the last half of the year. But, at the end of the day, you still have Drew freaking Brees as your quarterback. If they sell out to stop the run, they're just going to air it out. I mean, Drew Brees is a first-ballot Hall of Fame quarterback, the only quarterback to throw more than one 5,000-yard passing season. In fact, he's done it 5 times out of the 9 times it's happened. He is a beast of a quarterback, and that's what happened in this game. The Panthers shut down the run, and Drew Brees, he had a game. So 31-26.
Michael Thomas had a game, too.
Yeah, he did.
I know a lot of people were like, where was this during the season? Once again, the running game, it was working. They didn't need it.
I got to say.
Playoffs.
Did you start Michael Thomas in our NFL playoff challenge?
I did not.
I did.
I have Juju and Antonio Brown. No, not Antonio Brown. I'm sorry. I picked Juju and Stephon Diggs.
Okay. So I was going to say you sold out on the Steelers then, but all right.
Yeah.
That Saints-Panthers. Saints ended up walking away with that one, and we talked about in the show. This was a game, 31-26. But
it was.
Some broken coverages and some misconnections here and there made this game closer than it actually seemed if you watched it. This looked like the Saints were in control for the majority of this game. So, but Panthers made it interesting.
That kicking game shows its ugly head again. If the Carolina Panthers Gano, if he kicks that field goal earlier, that's a 29-31 game. Right. And then what that drive that basically led to the Panthers losing the game, they're already in field goal range.
Oh, yeah, they could have taken a shot.
They win by 1.
Yeah, they could have taken a shot. It would have been a long kick, but Graham Gano, I mean, he's one of the better kickers in the league. He had a chance, but, I mean, completely different game. And you know, you can't blame one player. This is kind of the counter-argument I'm sure we're going to hear about the Chiefs. You know, oh, it's just one player, it's a team sport. But some essential players and the way teams do things, that's just the way it is. And, you know, kickers are a serious part of the game, whether you like it or not. We kind of glanced over the Rams-Falcons game, and that's because this game, man, underwhelming. The Rams just didn't show up.
Yeah, I mean, for them, you see this. And once again, if you go back and support Patreon, you'll hear our analysis of this.
We
this
called
game,
this,
we called it, man. You know, this Rams offense absolutely fantastic throughout the season. But once again, these are young guys. These from the head coach all the way to, you know, Jared Goff, Todd Gurley. These are young players. And, you know, to me, and, you know, let me know how you feel about this, but to me, I felt like they got away from what they did best during the season. You know, they're getting the ball to Todd Gurley, getting Jared Goff some confidence, man. It just felt like they were forcing a lot of stuff and then, you know, just missed opportunities at the end of the day, not taking advantage of them.
Yeah, it just seemed like, look, I'm not going to say this team outperformed their talent this year because they didn't. We know the talent that is there, and now that they are actually properly utilized, we saw what was possible, and I'm excited to see what the future holds for this Rams team. But they are also one of the youngest teams in the league, and their inexperience, I think, more than anything, is what showed its ugly head here in the playoffs. They just didn't seem like they showed up. So we were expecting to be quite the shootout. I mean, the Falcons put up 26 points. They were the second high scorer on the weekend, but, I mean, we were expecting this to be more of a game than it was.
Sure was.
They were not using Todd Gurley very much at all. They kind of got away from him for a while. It just seemed like they kind of lost who they were, and they just weren't prepared for these bright lights. So I'll be excited to see them competing because I think that the way things are heading, this young team with a great core nucleus, I think that there's a power shift coming in the NFC West. We know Arizona's kind of going to a rebuilding year. Seattle's...
Same thing with Seattle, yeah.
Ooh, man,
their defense... Yeah,
Seattle's getting old, so we'll see how they handle with that defense going down. It'll be interesting. I want to see how this division. I'm looking forward to 2018, and then Falcons. Kudos to them. But yeah, let's move on to the Bills and Jags game. 10-3 Jags. This was
good. I mean, good defense. If you started the Jags defense in playoff challenge,
I did.
They did okay.
Did you?
Okay, me too. Yeah, me too.
There you go. Well done.
Me too.
I did.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it ended up working out. It was not the most exciting game I've ever seen.
Oh, no. Absolutely not. Blake, I mean, I talked to a couple of guys that do daily fantasy. Shouts out to those who does that. I mean, it's very, very fun.
Gotta love
it. Gotta love it. And this guy I was talking to, you know, he said, you know, he started Blake Bortles. Even with the poor day Bortles had, he still ended up putting 20 points together for you, you know. So that was actually pretty crazy because I'm looking at these passes this guy's throwing, and, you know, a lot of people, I know he won them some championships, but I'm like, good gracious, Bortles, you're starting to show why people scrutinize you so much. You're missing the easiest passes. I mean, he's putting his wide receivers in dangerous positions and not taking advantage of the just simple stuff, a simple 5 and out route, or 5 and slant route. You know, just easy stuff. And kudos to him. He saw the limitations of his game, realized, you know, hey, this is not my day right now throwing the ball. I'm starting to play like I used to play. Let me start using these legs.
Yep.
And Buffalo just could not stop him.
I mean, I was going to make it one of those cliche references. You know, good quarterbacks find ways to win, but it's Blake Bortles. I like Blake Bortles. Blake Bortles has taken me to a fantasy title 2 of the last 3 years. He'll always have a special place in my heart when it comes to fantasy. Love-hate relationship, of course, but still. But I mean, yeah, I'm trying to remember where I heard this. I was listening to another show, and they said that he couldn't hit water if he was on a boat in this game, which was an accurate way of putting it. He could not connect with anything.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, 23 attempts, 12 completions, 87 yards, and a touchdown. But then he actually had more rushing yards than he had passing yards. He, like you said, had 88 rushing yards, which really helped them just kill clock and win this game. I mean, the Bills defense, kudos to them. They showed up. This is a unit that had been banged up and therefore very underwhelming for portions of the season. And, I mean, they did a good job shutting down the passing game, but the Jags were able to just salt this one away, and went the way we expected to. Not necessarily the score we were expecting, but it went the way we thought it would. So, Jags move on. So, for those of you who don't know, the playoff picture, we have, I don't know if this is in the proper order, but in the AFC, we have the Tennessee Titans in New England playing the Patriots. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars on the road playing the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Sunday game.
Mm-hmm. On the NFC side, we have. Does it say it? No, what I'm looking at doesn't have the times next to it. Falcons are on the road against your Philadelphia Eagles, CJ.
Yes, sir. It's supposed to be like a 4:45 game. Weird start time, but yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it. Okay, so actually, you guys have the first game. Here, I found it.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have the 4:35 game on Saturday, and then it's the Titans at Patriots at Saturday night. And then Sunday, the early game, 1 o'clock, is Jacksonville at Pittsburgh. And then the 4:40 game on Sunday is New Orleans on the road in Minnesota.
Come on, Vikings. Come on, Vikings.
Come on, Vikings.
Let's go.
I'm pulling for the Saints. I'm pulling for the Saints to go all the way.
What the crap? What is this? What is this? Your third favorite team now? What is because that foolishness was you and the Packers. So what is the Saints?
The Saints have always had kind of a place in my heart. So
you know what? You know what I like to call you?
It's got to be an NFC team because I can't root for another AFC team.
Why can't you? Why?
Because my Ravens are in the AFC.
Well, listen. Why don't you be like everybody else in the NFC East? They'll say, and this is so stupid. That's why I laugh at it. Well, as long as the AFC, what do you guys? The AFC South or North?
We're the AFC North, the Ravens.
Yeah, AFC. As long as the AFC North wins, then you're happy. So just root for the Steelers.
I don't take that approach. No, the AFC North is hard-nosed, bad blood football. I mean, people get hurt in these games every single time these teams meet up. So I can't pull for them, and I definitely can't pull for the Pittsburgh Steelers, which are already the winningest franchise in the NFL with 6 Super Bowl titles, and obviously the Patriots one behind them. So I mean, if I'm gonna pull for an AFC team, it's gonna be the Jags probably because it'd be quite the magical season. I would love to see Jags Saints in the Super Bowl. That'd be an interesting game.
Whoa. What the crap?
Whoa.
What is this?
I don't know how well the Carson Wentz-less Eagles are going to play. So
one game at a time. We're going to prove it this weekend.
And also, I mean, look, deep down, I'm rooting for you and your guys, CJ, but I just know in reality the just unending verbal onslaught that we're going to hear all offseason if the Eagles win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So,
it's time, man. I deserve it, man.
You guys do.
Deserve it.
You don't have one yet. Your team is deserving of one. They've been around long enough. I can't decide what would be worse, if I had lost to you in our League of Record championship game or if the Eagles win the Super Bowl. Either way, it's not good.
It's not a good situation either way, but I just know I think I've handled this past fantasy season with going 0-3 in championship games.
Oof.
I mean, I think I've handled this pretty well.
I'm
with
not
grace happy
and dignity.
about it. And grace and dignity. So I deserve to act a complete fool if we win the Super Bowl. I deserve it.
Yeah, and I'm not one to rub things in, so it's been civil around our league.
It has.
But we have a lot of football ahead of us, and actually, I haven't looked in our NFL Playoff Challenge League. How do we know how that's going? How's our group?
Right now I'm currently 4th, but I only had like 3 players play this week, so I got a lot of double points happening this week.
Oh, actually, I'm in 2nd.
Yeah, man.
I think a lot of people are playing for divisional round because I'm in 2nd place with 42 points.
Yeah.
That's bad. Our first place team is in first place with 76 points, but he had all players that were playing this weekend. So he's not in a good spot moving forward, including 4 Chiefs. And his quarterback was a Ram. So
I'll do it for you.
Yeah, he's enjoy that top spot while you can, DJ Blocks.
It's
whatever his
not
name
gonna
is.
stay there for long.
No. Unless everything goes crazy, but I don't see it happening. All right, so that's a recap of what happened this last weekend in the NFL playoffs. So let's move on to some of our top headlines from around the league. And as always, we'll start with the league headlines, and we'll start in Chicago, where I don't honestly know how to say this name. But
here we go.
Yeah,
it started.
Chicago Bears have hired Matt Nagy.
Matt Nagy. Yeah, Matt Nagy. That's right.
The former Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator as their new head coach, reportedly. So huge news there. Also, in Oakland, they have officially announced that John Gruden will be their new head coach. I think I heard it was a 10-year, $100 million contract. Holy crap.
Crazy.
That's job security right there is what that is.
Yes, it is.
I didn't hear how much is guaranteed. Did you?
No, I haven't heard what's guaranteed yet, but I know he's supposed to be doing a formal announcement tomorrow, press conference, everything. It basically sounds like he got most of his staff already signed.
I'm sure he does.
And about 4-year deals for all of them.
Is that tomorrow or is it later today?
I'm sorry, it should be later today.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry.
Speaking
from the future.
Oh. No, I was just confused because I couldn't remember if it was Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah,
but I heard something to that effect. I mean, this guy's been itching, no matter what anyone says, he's been itching to get back into the coaching, and I'm sure he's had his guys in the wings for years. So no surprise there. The New York Giants are interviewing former Denver Broncos running back coach Eric Studsville, I think is his name, for their head coaching position. So interesting choice there. I don't know much about him. Do you?
He's done a good job with what I'm saw over there with Denver, their running back coach. I mean, look, you got my man from of course CJ Anderson doing good there, Jamal Charles there. So I mean, I think you gotta look at his track record. CJ Anderson, when healthy, he's been playing really well. So I think the coach is going to get credit from that, and of course offensive line. But so he's got a good track record, and bringing him in to see what's going on with him, man. I think this league needs to get more younger, more innovative guys instead of just going just recycling all these guys. I mean, I want to get some more fresh faces in here. I
mean, he's got experience. He's been with the Broncos since 2010, where he was the interim head coach that year. He's been the running backs coach ever since, and then this past year he was the assistant head coach while being the running backs coach. So he's got experience. He's been a defensive coordinator at the collegiate level for a while, but mostly running backs coach. So he knows both sides of the game. I'm intrigued. This is a guy who turned a 3-headed rushing attack, kind of like you were saying, into a viable weapon. Not great for fantasy, but good for real-life football. So it's interesting. It wouldn't have been my first thought, but the Giants are, I guess, interviewing everybody, so we'll see what they come up with.
As well.
And then Pro Football Talk reports that the New England Patriots expect that their defensive coordinator, Matt Patricia, is going to end up as the Detroit Lions head coach. So
that's great. That's pretty crazy. I thought he was might go over the Giants, but
I mean, nothing's set in stone, and he's been interviewing with a lot of places, so I'm intrigued to know what he's being offered there. I'll be excited to see his contract or what his ties are to the area, because that's an interesting choice to go to Detroit when you could stay roughly in the same area by going to New York, like you said. So it'll be interesting. And just a little bit of fantasy-related news. Let's go to Pittsburgh, where wide receiver Antonio Brown returned to practice on Monday. He is reportedly back to 100%, which I don't know how much I believe that, from having a tear in your calf. But, I'm sure he is more than healthy enough and capable enough to go out there and be a viable weapon. So if you put him in your lineups for the NFL Playoff Challenge, it's kind of a gamble because it was all coach speak. You're going to hopefully be quite rewarded this coming weekend, which I'm one of those people who rolled those dice, so I'm excited. And, with that, let's move on to our topic of the day, the reason that you are all here, and that is our duds of the year.
Oh, my gosh.
Dun, dun, dun.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah. Everyone loves the Stud Show. Yet, strangely enough, people seem to love the Dud Show even more, because this is a chance for us all to come together and just be disappointed and share our pain and hopefully learn from these experiences and move on and, shed the 2017 season as we move forward to 2018. So
let's get it all out. Let's get it all out tonight.
Let's get it all out. So let's start, as we always do, at the quarterback position. We're going to run through some of our top candidates for the dud of the year. We'll discuss, we'll debate, we'll figure out who we think is deserving of that title, and then we will put them into the running for the dud of the year across all of fantasy football. It's a prestigious award that nobody wants to win. So let's start at the quarterback position. Like we mentioned, we have to start with your number 15 quarterback on the season. This is based on 6 point per passing touchdown scoring, and that is Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, who is not the worst finish in the world. There's plenty of guys that people were drafting that finished lower than he did, but this is a guy who was drafted to be the number 4 quarterback off the board and finished 15th. Didn't even finish as a quarterback 1. I mean, we heard all this news and everybody was getting excited based on his standout 2016 season. He went out there with the new offensive coordinator that we heard was not going to change anything, and it just fizzled out seemingly completely. So I did not get my hands on Matt Ryan because of my late-round quarterback strategy this year, so I was not personally burned by him. CJ, do you have any exposure to Matt Ryan?
I didn't because, just going into this year, these quarterbacks that have magical years, unless you're one of the elites, to me, like a Aaron Rodgers, a Tom Brady, people on that level, or even when Peyton Manning was still playing, people on that level, I kind of, I try to get off, just take what I got from him. He had a great year. If I had him, awesome, but I don't think I'm going to double dip again. And that's basically what I was like with Matt Ryan. I mean, Matt Ryan, I kind of called this, and I know a lot of other fantasy people did the same thing. With Shanahan leaving, him kind of being the catalyst of launching Matt Ryan into this elite stardom and getting the MVP. Now he's gone, and now you're bringing in a guy that can't even really implement his playbook because the organization wanted you just to basically go off of what Shanahan was doing. That's a lot. That's going to be a lot, and it's going to be challenging not only on the offensive coordinator, but it's going to be challenging on Matt Ryan as well. And it showed because there was a lot of times where Matt Ryan's ace with being Julio Jones, not only Julio Jones but Hamed Sanu, Taylor Gabriel, a guy that was a gem last year. We didn't even really hear from this guy this season. So a lot of star guys that helped Matt Ryan, have that incredible season, kind of fell off this year. So I guess I kind of looked in the crystal ball a little bit and saw that it was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to be this bad, but I did see that it was going to be a regression, and I kind of stayed away from it.
I mean, look, he went from a career high in yardage and a career high in touchdowns, that magical season as we talked about, in 2016 to 2017, where he posted his lowest touchdown total since his rookie season. His rookie season, he threw for 16. This year, he threw for 20. He also threw for his lowest yardage since the 2010 season, barely reaching 4,000 yards. So, I mean, none of this came along the way that people thought and hoped it would. Definitely not living up to his draft stock as the 4th quarterback off the board. Not necessarily doing a lot better in the playoffs either. 218 yards and a touchdown is what he's got thus far. So, Matt Ryan, everybody. We'll see how he continues, but definitely a candidate for your bust of the year this year from the quarterback position. Another notable mention, Derek Carr. He finished number 18, so a couple spots behind Matt Ryan. Was drafted a couple spots behind him as well as the number 6 quarterback off the board. Wow, what was that? This entire Oakland Raiders offense really sputtered this year and seemingly got its head coach fired. So, I'm not necessarily getting to the point of ranking and comparing them head-to-head yet, but, I mean, Derek Carr, nobody was expecting this much of a regression, even coming back from injury. Everything kind of stayed the same from year to year. So what do you think happened here? They upgraded his run game. That's about it.
Quarterback coach, man. You get rid of. I mean, that's the bad thing about young quarterbacks right now. I mean, you got to nurture them, and this team, they had their quarterback coach last year. You saw the the great games, excuse me, that Derek Carr was having, and the growth and maturity he was showing in the offense. And of course, they had that unfortunate injury that happened to him at the end of the season. And then this past season, they get rid of that guy and bring in somebody else. And I want to say it was the quarterback coach, or if it was the offensive coordinator, and then their quarterback coach became the offensive coordinator, one of the two. But there was a disconnect that happened, and then this team, they went out and got Marshawn Lynch, was supposed to help, but the way I saw this thing happening with them, bringing him on, I kind of felt hurt him because they didn't really use Marshawn like they should have, and they kind of just being really selective when they did use him, and that affected this offense. And of course, once again, you and Jason's boy, Amari Cooper, once again, bad season, not being consistent, dropping a lot of passes. There was just a lot of disconnect happening with Derek Carr, and of course, those couple games that he got injured, after that Denver game, that didn't help him either. So it was, you got splashes, you had some splashes, you had some great weeks, but he wasn't consistent and having those great games like he was last year.
Why was he our guy? We were just saying he was a sleeper candidate.
No. That was you guys' guy. The whole offseason, you guys. Oh my gosh, it was disgusting. It was disgusting.
We were just talking about stats and trends and magical third years and progressions.
The trend was that he's garbage. That's the trend. The trend was
CJ,
he's a bum.
That's the hindsight.
That's the trend. That's the trend. That's the trend.
That's the hindsight. Now that's the trend.
Oh, now it's the trend. Huh? After I already exposed it, now it's the trend.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously you can't see the future, or if you could, you might have won a fantasy title.
Speak for yourself. Speak for yourself.
So yeah, Derek Carr. I don't know if he ever. You see these injuries where players come back and it takes them a year to kind of get their feet back under them, build their confidence up again. I don't know how much of it was matchups, how much of it was mental, how much of it was physical, how much of it was execution. But the Raiders really struggled across the board, and none of the offensive weapons finished very highly. In fact, all their key offensive weapons are on these lists at one point or another. So something went awry there, and it all starts with the quarterback. So Derek Carr makes our Duds of the Year category. Another one, which of course was extra hyped up by additions in the offseason and Hard Knocks, of course, of all things. Jameis Winston, your number 20 quarterback on the season, drafted off the board as the number 7. So we're seeing a trend. They were drafted later, they're finishing later, so at least that was consistent.
I just don't know. And I love Jameis. I love his competitive spirit. I love his moxie, everything about him. I mean, I think me and America and I, we all got wrapped up on Hard Knocks because it was absolutely great. Just seeing the personality of this team and the personality of him. He's listening to inspirational messages. He's getting up early. He's working out. He's being accountable to the coach, wanting to get better. Everything you want out of a starting quarterback, young quarterback, and mentally, physically, and his preparation, all that stuff. But for some reason, for some god awful reason, this team just stalled. I don't know if some people can say about the hurricane, maybe that would happen, and that they didn't have the proper amount. I mean, they didn't have a legit bye.
True.
They just had the week one that probably threw off their rhythm to play, 16 games straight. I mean,
which is insane.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So, got that going on. A lot of injuries to the offensive line. The running game never got caught on. And then the thing that I know we're gonna talk about later when we get to another position, his targets. There was times where he would try to force the ball to Deshaun Jackson a lot, and they just would not connect. He wasn't connecting to Mike Evans. So all the pieces that were helping him, especially his boy Mike Evans and Doug Martin, those things were not working, and the offensive line were hurting him. And then overall, it was just a bad, tough season for Jameis.
Yeah, and injuries to himself. He missed 3 games. So
yeah, he did.
That in mind, his stats are what they are. There's his lowest touchdowns and lowest yardage on a season in his career. But I think if you multiply that out over a full 16 games, he fares much more in the averages of what he has done. So it wasn't a terrible season for him statistically. It was just average. And everyone was thinking he was going to take that big third step. They gave him way more weapons. They drafted a rookie that we all liked. They brought in a deep threat. They brought in a pass-catching tight end to help fill out his intermediate to short game, his red zone. We thought Doug Martin was going to really come back and really draw focus in the running game, and nothing really materialized here. So Jameis Winston... Man, it just not living up to the hype. If we had drafted him around where he had finished the last couple years, I think people wouldn't be disappointed. But everyone thought that this was going to be a big step for him, and it did not happen.
He was going high.
Yeah, your 7th quarterback off the board.
Yeah. And if you waited later, you thought you had a steal, and then he just goes out and just does that on you.
Jameis Winston, early 7th round pick. So you're not feeling good about that one.
No, not at all.
Number 21, you have Marcus Mariota. He was drafted as the number 8 quarterback off the board, so the trend continues of accurately drafting them in the order, at least where they finished. But as we saw, at least in the playoffs, he's really good at throwing blocks.
Yeah, he was.
Holy crap!
He's showing heart right now, and I'm proud of him. And it's kind of funny because I've been criticizing this team and this offense all season, and now these guys are playing hard. I mean, certain worthless people are out the way, and now you're starting to see the talent of Derrick Henry, and you're starting to see right now that the offense is Marcus Mariota and Derrick Henry right now. That is the offense, and that's pretty exciting to know. Going forward, that maybe you got to bounce a real bounce back year, and we can really see something from Marcus Mariota because getting this playoff experience now, and seeing what he's seeing and experiencing what he's experiencing. This is going to be good for him going forward. And then when they get I believe they go and get an offensive mindset offensive coordinator to help out Marcus Mariota and his maturity. That's going to be big for them too.
This is why everyone thought Mike Mularkey was probably going the way of the dinosaurs, but the owners come out and said they're keeping him, as we reported on the last show. But they are definitely not capitalizing on his developmental years. I mean, they went out, they added more weapons, they did what they could in free agency, but the scheme just doesn't seem to fit. I mean, look, he had a decent year throwing. He still hasn't played a full season, but he played the same amount of games this year as he did last year, so he threw for yet less yards, averaging less yards per game, and he threw for literally, CJ, half the touchdowns. He threw for 26 touchdowns in 2016. He threw for 13 touchdowns in 2017. I know this is the exotic smash mouth football, running the ball, game, team concept, but come on. That's just terrible. Now, to be fair, he rushed in 5 touchdowns, which tops his previous high of 2, but that still puts him at, 18 touchdowns on the season. That's not very good for fantasy.
It's not good.
No.
It's not good.
So, we like a lot of pieces on this team. This is a young team, and they're making a splash in the playoffs. But, I mean, and I don't want to be mean. I don't want to bash anything, but do you think they have a snowball's chance against the Patriots in Foxborough this week?
Well, I mean, we both know how Belichick's mind works. He's going to take away your best player. And right now, the best player is the running game. I mean, I think if the running game is not going on, then you're gonna start to see Marcus Mariota during the season, and that's being inconsistent. That's not being comfortable in the pocket, and that's gonna be making mistakes. So they have to figure it out a way that they can be able to counter that and not get pushed in a corner like the Patriots are known to do, because the Patriots have shown that they've been struggling at stopping the run, so that's one thing they got in their favor. But I mean, they could. I think they have a chance on offense, but their defense wise, you got to get to Brady and you got to stay on him. And so I have more concern for their defense being consistent than their offense. I think their offense can find a way to keep up points with the Patriots, but when it comes to clutch, being able to stop Brady and cause a turnover, that's where I'm a little concerned, and I'm kind of picking the Patriots.
As am I. And I I just don't see it. I don't think the Titans have the defense, though they did a good job last week. I don't think they have the defense to keep up with some of the more prolific offenses. I don't think their offense can keep up with those teams once they are scoring, because a lot of the teams still in the playoffs have great defenses as well, which isn't going to help things. I just don't see a way that look, more power to them. If they go all the way, awesome. That's a magical season for you guys. That's a Cinderella story, but I just don't see it happening. And so all this team is doing is really hurting their chances, because they're going further into the playoffs, and that's going to really hurt their draft stock. So I'm not saying you throw in the towel in the divisional round. You don't do that, but this team needs a lot still, and it's young, and they've got a lot of good pieces, but they still need a lot of things that they could hopefully get and probably find in this year's draft. And I just don't know how much is going to be available when they're drafting at the back of the first round now. Yeah. And I guess it all starts up top with coaching, but as we all know, Mike Mularkey is going to be back next year. So we'll see. Marcus Mariota, a big letdown, just because we all thought he would take another big step this year, and it did not happen. Still, in 3 years, has not thrown for even 3,500 yards. So
it's bad.
It's not good. It is ungood. Let's go to another guy, which, to be fair, everyone on his team got just annihilated at one point or another. And I know you're going to just bash this guy and tear him apart, so we'll be very quick. But we have Eli Manning. He was your 23rd quarterback, missed a game, lost all of his weapons in the first 5-6 weeks, and he finished as a quarterback too. At least a viable option in 2 quarterback leagues, I guess, technically. Yeah. Drafted as the number 17 quarterback off the board, so this is a little bit less of a letdown, but still not a great performance, because I honestly thought his average draft position was higher than this, just knowing the additions that they had there, of Evan Ingram, Brandon Marshall. I know that a lot of people thought that if this was going to be the year, or if there was a year he was going to have a great comeback season, this would have been it. Yeah, but did not happen, and now we don't know what his future holds. I don't know. Is there anything you want to go into with Eli? Because I don't think there's much we can say until we know more.
No, I mean, you basically put it in a nutshell, man. I think I can't really go bash Eli like how I would like to, but it was just injuries across the board. I mean, you lose your 3 starting wide receivers. You go out there, you do what you can. We see the star that's emerging and Evan Ingram, and that's good to know. But it came at a cost.
Shepard came back at times. Yeah,
they started coming on time, but it came at a cost because this offense was dealing with so much injuries, and they just could not get things going on offensively. They showed spurts. They showed something that they can be able to put together. A couple practice squad guys came out there and played. But, not enough, and not where you drafted Eli that, you thought where he was going to be. The hype coming towards Eli did not back up. So that's that thing.
Yeah, he did not take a big step. Number 27 was Jay Cutler. I mean, people weren't expecting a lot out of him being number 21, but coming back as a streaming option in a familiar offense, which he did well in the past. Obviously, that did not materialize. Adam Gase still has a job, though, so I guess that's something. Yeah. The big one, the big kahuna, number 28. Aaron Rodgers, drafted as the number 1 quarterback in leagues. But it's hard to say that somebody was really a dud when you're hurt. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't.
I mean, you can't. Once again, I put this towards like Eli Manning. I mean, of course, Eli played more games, but once again, it's injuries. I mean, you can't really criticize and scrutinize his play if the man is not on the field. Now, even when the man did come on the field, the man still scored 2 touchdowns?
I mean, he was having a fantastic season until he got hurt.
So it's like when he came back like week 15 or week 14, one of the weeks.
He played in week 14.
Yeah, so the man comes back, he's a little rusty, but still rusty, 300 yards, couple touchdowns. I mean, if that's rust, good gracious, throw away the WWE 40 and just let the moisture come in. Because he goes out there and still has a good game for you, even when he was hurt. So, I mean, hey, it is what it is. I think we can give Aaron Rodgers a pass this time.
Yeah, I mean, he was on pace to have another great season until he got hurt. So he's on this list solely because of where he finished and the draft stock you put into him. But, injuries, they're unpredictable, as we always say. You can factor in for certain players that they're probably going to miss time because they get dinged up a lot. But having a legit season-ending injury or a major one like what he had here, a bone break, you can't predict that. So a dud, a letdown, but I don't think that he is a candidate for dud of the year. I don't know. You can make an argument, but I won't be voting for it. Last two very fast. Carson Palmer, he finished 32. Obviously, he got hurt as well. And Sam Bradford, who got hurt, he was drafted as the 24th quarterback off the board, had a great week one. Popular streaming option. And then, he had one good game in week one and out for the rest of the year.
That was it after that.
Yeah, so I tried to make a return at one point, but then he got
it was pretty bad.
So, and then an honorable mention, Andrew Luck, who never saw the field, but was still drafted as a top 12 quarterback. So,
called it.
Yeah, you sure did.
All right. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and
incredibly mishandled. So, let's see. We got I think our top candidates here are Matt Ryan, Derek Carr, Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota. Do you have anyone that stands out to you in this list besides that, or anyone that I didn't put on this list?
No, I think this is good. Yeah, I think it's good. I'll stay off of it. I'll stick with this. So my vote is going to be for Derek Carr. I think for me, why I pick him, just because I think he had a lot more hype than Jameis did, even with Hard Knocks behind him. Just because the promise that he showed before he got hurt, and basically they had everything still intact that was coming around them. They spent a lot on trying to get Marshawn Lynch in there that was supposedly supposed to help him out. They brought some good draft pieces from the defense that was supposed to help him out as well. So it was like they set everything up for him. But once again, like I was saying about that coordinator switch, that was the detriment to this team, and they didn't stick to it as far as using Marshawn Lynch to help the running game out, to help the passing game. And then, it's just he was just inconsistent play from his wide receivers, and never really. I mean, it showed sparks, him showing with him and Jared Cook, but at the end of the day, it was just still very, very bad numbers. If you even go week to week and compare his last year's to this season, he did not get it except for like 2 times the production he was doing. So my vote is for Derek Carr.
For me, I feel like I have to go with Matt Ryan, just because this is a guy who was drafted, pretty universally ranked and drafted as a top 5 quarterback. And, I mean, his average draft position was number 4 overall. You were taking him in the 5th round because of this. So that's a huge draft stock to whiff on, especially at a position like this, where there's just so much depth because you only start 1. I mean, just as a key example, some other 5th-round picks that you could have had instead of Matt Ryan that went around him. Mark Ingram. Boom, right there. Greg Olsen, who, to be fair, got hurt, but he's still very good. Larry Fitzgerald, who had a top 12 season. Jimmy Graham, who actually, tight ends were hard to go with this year. He had a top 5 season. Just a couple examples of players you could have gotten instead of Matt Ryan around that draft pick. And then plenty of other players who had good weeks as well. Your Golden Tates out there. So I have to go with him based on draft capital, based on the investment, based on the presumption and the projections on him, and then the fact that he did not even finish as a quarterback 1, and put up career lows in certain categories. So this is why we need a third person as a tiebreaker. So I have to say, is there any sway in your argument of Derek Carr?
I mean, I see your point, but once again, I mean, for me. When I'm looking at it, I never really was believing in Matt Ryan this year to begin with. So that's kind of like the thing that's holding me to stick to Derek Carr, because I actually thought Derek Carr was going to still make some progress versus what I thought Matt Ryan was going to do.
All right. Well, then I guess that we will put them both down.
I mean, it's good though. We got them ordered 1 and 2, so I think we're still good there. We're good.
Yeah, all right. They can share the award.
Yeah, we can. I got coins here, so we can do heads and tails.
We can flip a coin. Yeah.
We can flip a coin.
Yeah. If only we had a third co-host that could actually be a part of things. No.
Let's not beat a dead horse here.
We got to take shots. He's not here to defend himself.
Or for him, a sombrero. Let's not do that.
Wow. All right. So with that, let's move on to another position, and that is the running back position. So we had quite a few guys here that let us down, and we'll try to pick up the pace a little bit here because everybody basically knows what happens. Your 19th finisher on the season, Marshawn Lynch. And the only reason he's even that high is because he actually kind of turned it on towards the end of the year. He was drafted as the 13th running back off the board. So big letdown there. Team just didn't seem like they were able to figure out how to use him properly. And though you could say that about this entire offense. Your 23rd, oh man, this is my winner right here. Your 23rd ranked running back on the season, DeMarco Murray, drafted universally as a top 10 running back. In a lot of circles, I saw him being projected as a top 5 running back, even based on his finish in 2016. So, I mean, I think that he's just a massive letdown there. Isaiah Crowell, he was Twitter and just popular sleeper candidate. Yeah, number 30, drafted as a top 12 running back in most circles. That's rough. Number 32 was a little bit more of a sleeper, Joe Mixon. Everybody was thinking about the upside there, but as we actually preach here on this show, be wary. 3-headed attack, he's going to be pushing for time. He's got to hope that he gets playing time, and then even if he gets the snaps, he's got a bad offensive line. So I'm honestly not too surprised about this, so I don't think he qualifies as a dud. Jay Ajayi, who finished as the number 33 running back on the season, he went universally as the number 7 running back off the board, so that's pretty bad. Number 40 was Amir Abdullah, who went as the number 23 running back, so drafted as a 2 with upside, didn't even finish as a 3. Let's see. Number 53, Ty Montgomery, drafted as the number 19 running back. I never thought he was going to hold on to the job, so that wasn't too surprising to me. Let's see. Adrian Peterson, a guy that we had lots of question marks about, but he had the name brand value. He was drafted as the number 27 running back. He finished as the number 54. Oh, rough. Number 56, Doug Martin. We all thought he was going to come back with this impressive offseason. Not the case. He was drafted as a top 2 running back, did not deliver. And then Dalvin Cook, who obviously got hurt. He was drafted as the number 16 running back, was looking really good until he had the non-contact injury, finished at 65. And then you've got to mention it because he sunk basically every single team he was drafted on simply because of the draft capital you had to invest in him. Yes, you all know where I'm going with this. David Johnson. Your number 1 running back. Not just your number 1 running back, but your number 1 overall player in 2017 drafts. Your 120th ranked running back on the season. So, again, injuries are hard to throw in the dud category, but honestly, I could make an exception for David Johnson solely because he was the number 1 pick in fantasy drafts. That's, I mean, I have a league where I wasn't able to recover from that. It was a competitive league, to be fair, but still, I was not able to make anything happen with the loss of David Johnson in week 1. You got a half out of him. That's just a massive letdown. But to qualify for the dud of the year, what's your criteria, CJ? Who are you pulling for this award?
I'm pulling for a guy that Jason and I both liked this past offseason. And, we like the additions this team made to the offensive line and, the additions, some of the second year experience for the receivers, man. So my pick is for Isaiah Crowell. A guy that we were preaching, we love the numbers that the kid put up with a freaking cabbage patch of an offensive line that he had last year. Now to have some legit good guys there that can be able to move the line and be able to make holes for him. We had everything. He had everything in line for him, and then he just got stuff, and couldn't get anything going until he went to London, to that London game, and then some games come a couple weeks after that. My pick gotta be for Isaiah Crowell. He was such a sleeper too, a sleeper pick that you probably went up and got in late rounds, and you were like, oh man, yeah, this is gonna be my diamond in the rough, and he ended up being a straight copper, nothing, and not even copper. He was just that bad bronze that cheap stuff you find at the dollar store. That's what he was this year.
And I see where you're coming from, but like I kind of said when I was running through these guys, fantasy Twitter, the community, all the people who did a lot of the research, who invested this higher draft pick in the guy, I think we all knew what we were getting into here, though. The numbers, the opportunity were in front of it, but we all knew we're still drafting a Cleveland Brown running back. This is a team that was going to have to stay in the lead to use the running game, so we knew that there was definitely a risk-reward factor here. So I think that everyone that drafted this guy was kind of expecting that to be the case, and since he was the 12th pick, I could see a lot of players who probably went running back, back-to-back picks here. He was a huge letdown. Obviously, he finished as a flex-worthy player, being drafted as a number 1 running back. There's no denying that. But I just don't know that people were as let down by him as they probably were by others. I mean, not saying this is my candidate, but I know this would probably be Jason's answer. Marshawn Lynch. I mean, this is a guy that Jason had in his top 3, his top 4. Where did he have Marshawn? Do you remember?
He had him. Keep talking, I can look it up. But I know it was top 5, so I know he had to be like his number 3 running back.
I think it was his number 3. Both you and I were more pessimistic on it.
Yeah,
but
he loved Marshawn. So you know what? I'll switch. My heart is towards Isaiah Crowell, but I know how much Jason loved Marshawn Lynch, and I know how much he was disappointed by him. So I will pick up Marshawn Lynch because I have a very strong feeling his thing would have been Marshawn too.
I think so, and like I said, I have to put my vote for DeMarco Murray. Just simply because this is a guy who finished as a top running back. I mean, you had him projected higher than I did, even, CJ, and I was somewhat high on him. Because
I reluctantly wanted to do that, but yeah, I did.
I mean, everything we were hearing was there. So, I mean, actually, no, he didn't. I was looking at the wrong player, but still, we were close. I mean, this is a guy who we all knew coming into the season. We thought this was going to be more of a split. And then all we were hearing the entire season long is, this guy finished as a top-tier running back. He's going to be used as the bell horse top-tier running back, and he was when healthy, but he was not able to stay healthy, constantly banged up, but also he added that stress factor because he never actually went down with the injury. He was always questionable, and then he was always used sparingly. So you still started him. So I think the fact that this guy was lingering around all season long, holding back another player in Derrick Henry, and then when he was out there used so lightly that you weren't able to get the production worth of starting him in the first place, I think that's why he qualifies to me as the dud of the year, because he actually got started and let people down, where a lot of these other guys, you saw the trend and you just kind of got rid of them or sapped them on their bench. So that's
the frustrating thing. Yeah,
so frustrating.
I see your point.
So DeMarco Murray has my vote for the dud of the year.
Well, I can't stand his guts, so let's put it up. Let's put it up there.
All right, DeMarco Murray is the dud of the year from the running back position. So
let's make it happen.
Here, awards in the mail. So let's see. The wide receiver duds of the year. You closed Friday's show mentioning this guy, Mike Evans. He finished as the number 20 wide receiver. He was drafted as the number 4 wide receiver. So I think we all know the argument here, but why does this guy deserve the dud of the year award overall, even, it sounds like, from you?
Well, for me, I mean, it's just the capital that you put in him and the hype that was going on. So, man, I believe the hype. I was that Jameis Winston truther this year and expected him to just light it up, especially with the addition of Deshaun Jackson there. And yet we did not get that. We got very, very frustrating play from him, and then there was times and stretches of games where he just didn't show any heart. I mean, you show, and I hate to question this, but his play remind me a lot of DeAnthony Thomas out there in Denver, just with the poor quarterback play that was going on there. I'm not trying to take shots at Jameis, but I got to be impartial. He was playing bad football. That's the same thing that was going out there in Denver. It was bad football. There was times where you could just look at the tape and watch back. DeAnthony Thomas not showing any heart, not going for blocks. You're not going for extra routes, not putting any extra work in. That's the same stuff that I was seeing from Mike Evans. And because you drafted him so high, and because I had him ranked so high, to see him put that type of performance out there. Now, I'm not expecting him to be able to throw the ball to himself, but at least I expect you to be still competitive and help your guys out. But even when Jameis was out, Fitzy wasn't getting the ball to him. They wasn't getting the thing going on. So it was just an absolute mess out there with Tampa. Everything concerning Tampa, and especially Mike Evans. That's my pick.
True, but at least he finished as a wide receiver too. So I mean, you got some return on it. He did have some good weeks in there. Well, we'll debate it. We'll move on to the number 23 wide receiver on the season, and that is Demaryius Thomas, drafted as the number 16. I mean, bad quarterback play leads to poor wide receiver play, so I think that's enough said there. I don't know that I can necessarily point to anything that was glaringly wrong with Demaryius Thomas's play as much as it was the offense and the quarterback. Would you agree with that?
I mean, I'm still looking at when I look at that, and I could be a little biased. But I mean, it was a rough game for him, but I'm looking at that Eagles Denver game. I mean, once again, we blew him out, but there was still times where he could have made a play for Trevor Siemian. He could have made a play for Brock Osweiler. Well, I'm sorry, Trevor Siemian wouldn't play that game, but Osweiler, he could have made a couple plays for Osweiler, and he just basically just gave up in the route, like maybe 10 yards in. So just little stuff, maybe just a slant and go, or a 5-yard slant, stuff like that. That every wide receiver goes hard for, tries to help out their guys, and he just didn't do it. He just didn't do it. And I can't be mad at him because the quarterback play was atrocious in Denver.
That's fair. Number 24, T.Y. Hilton, drafted as the number 12 wide receiver off the board. So still finished as a number 2, drafted as a low-end number 1. I mean, we were expecting Andrew Luck, and we never got Andrew Luck. So tough matchups, new quarterback that came in as the season was basically starting. Not surprised here, not really his fault. And I think a lot of the fantasy players knew what was up once we found out that Luck was not coming back. So definitely a dud, but I think there are worse candidates for this award. Let's see, number 25, here's a key one, Dez Bryant. Drafted as the number 8 wide receiver off the board. I think we all have to accept the fact that unless they change something in this offense and they start using him a little bit differently or get him some help to pull coverage away from him, I think the Dez Bryant of yesteryear is a thing of the past. So I've seen a lot of comparisons and analysis and in-depth breakdowns of this team's offense and the way that they run things in Dallas, and a lot of comparisons and suggestions on how to best utilize Dez Bryant is kind of similar to what Bruce Arians was doing in Arizona and with Larry Fitzgerald, kind of shifting him to more of the slot mismatch on the inside, can still use him in the red zone, which is obviously his forte, but not as much on the outside. Not quite that guy anymore. So I'm not saying that he doesn't have it in him, but he's not that put him out there on an island, he's going to make every play type player as he was 4 years ago.
He's not athletic as he was back in his youth, where he could just go up and outrun a person and just use that body. It's not that. His age is starting to hit him. It's starting to come with him, and right now he's limited. He's real limited on the routes that he can run and what he can be able to do. And as we saw in that Seattle game, we've been seeing that all throughout his career. When he gets in his feelings and wants to gets the ball, he gets the opportunity, but then he go out there and fumble it, or he'll get in his head too much and gets out the game. And right now, the way this offense is constructed, even with being the offensive coordinators, they'll force feed it to him, and it's still. That's a bad decision, especially with Dak Prescott still being a young quarterback. You never want to force a ball to a person, even if you can be able to get it. And, I just don't think Dak is at that level yet where he can force somebody and it still doesn't affect his confidence.
Yeah, he's got some growing to do, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. Where were we? Oh, there they are.
Crap, there it is.
Oof. Oakland wide receivers. Number 28, Michael Crabtree, but he was drafted at number 22, how did he drop to number 22? With how we were talking about them in the season, our whole strategy was when one goes, you take the other one, which looked good for a while with the early part of the season, obviously with Michael Crabtree, but didn't end up being a strong finish. And then Amari Cooper, just on the back of a few good games, was not too far behind him at number 31. But he, of course, was drafted much higher as the number 10 wide receiver off the board as a second-round pick. And we all know the struggles, the peaks and valleys that we saw with Amari Cooper this year, primarily very, very deep valleys. So, I mean, product of quarterback play. I mean, there's a trend across the board, offensive scheme. There's something wrong in Oakland this year, is basically what it boils down to.
Excuse me. I think we could just wrap it up as all the above. That's just my view. I mean, because we talked about this already, coming down to the quarterback and the running back, and I think it just falls right down to wide receivers as well. Me personally, I've never been a fan of Amari Cooper just because of the inconsistency. He had a great first rookie year and just hasn't yet to match it up and be consistent throughout the season. Crabtree, I think he's absolutely fantastic. I think it was a breath of fresh air for him to go to Oakland, and he's been showing why he was that top pick in the drafts. But this year was just a tough year. Derek Carr going through the struggles was going on, and it affected this whole offense.
Yeah. Oh, boy, did it ever. Let's see. Number 33, we have Sammy Watkins, drafted as the 29th wide receiver off the board. Changed teams, not too surprising. Mike Wallace, he went from being a high draft stock player to not so great, but this was struggles of the Ravens offense. He actually was pretty decent for the last half of the year, but finished number 38, drafted number 53. So I don't remember him dropping that low in the wide receiver rankings. I guess Jeremy Maclin coming along really drove his price down, but don't get me started on him. We'll get there, actually. Number 45, Deshaun Jackson. He was drafted as the number 35 wide receiver off the board, finished as the wide receiver 45. Big letdown there. They just did not connect, didn't get anywhere where we were hoping that they would. Number 50, Jordy Nelson.
Quarterback injuries.
Oh, quarterback injuries, but, I mean, he didn't go down. It was poor play without Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I love Jordy. He was actually in the running for our Stud of the Year category last year, and here I have to give him one of the harder looks at being my candidate for Dud of the Year from the wide receiver position. So
it's tough. It's not his fault, but yeah.
He was on fire with Aaron, but the thing is, he was still out there. He was still healthy. He still was started for a lot of weeks. The fact that he fell off as drastically as he did, if he's that tier of player that he is deserving of a first-round pick, you would imagine that he would have gotten something done.
Yeah.
But him and Brett Hundley just never got it going. He's got to be in consideration.
Hundley's guy was Parker, man. They were trying to get it to Jordy, but just him and Jordy just could not get that connection going for some reason.
Yep. Let's see. Devontae Parker, he was drafted at number 26, finished at 57. Jay Cutler and Devontae Parker, when one was healthy, the other wasn't, and just that whole offense just fell apart.
He talked them up. Jay Cutler was talking them up, man.
Yep. Number 61, Emmanuel Sanders, same story as Demaryius Thomas. He was drafted as the number 32 wide receiver. Jeremy Maclin finished number 67. He was drafted as the number 37. That's just, yeah. Bye, Jeremy. I'll be surprised if you're still in Baltimore next year. Let's see, number 71, Odell Beckham Jr., drafted as the number 3 wide receiver off the board, finished number 71, as I mentioned, but injuries, it's hard to fault a guy for getting a season-ending injury.
Yeah.
Number 110, though, this guy, Terrell Pryor, drafted as the number 15 wide receiver off the board, finished as the 110th wide receiver. In a better system, on a better offense, he completely imploded. I've seen a lot of articles mentioning who were candidates of Dud of the Year for their respective listings. Yeah. This guy has been a top candidate in all of them, and I have to agree because people, I know a lot of people who are personally ranking him and drafting him as a number 1 wide receiver this year.
Yeah.
And here he is in triple digits. So, it has to be strong consideration, I'd imagine, for you, CJ, right?
He has to go up. Just because the hype that was going around him.
So much hype.
He had such a great season with Cleveland, showed that, he can be able to actually play the position wide receiver exclusively. And, because, he was basically a gadget-type player sometimes with Cleveland. And, throughout his career, being quarterback and then, making the transition to wide receiver. And, not only Oakland, but in Seattle, and then now coming to Cleveland. But to go to Washington, and it's a head scratcher because you don't know why. You don't know. You can't really go back and finger point it and say where did it go wrong, because everything was in his favor. Pierre Garçon, not a thing. Deshaun Jackson, not a thing. there were stretches of the game where Jordan Reed wasn't playing. I mean, look
He
at that.
had
Surprise, surprise.
so
Surprise,
much
surprise.
opportunity.
So much opportunity. Jamison Crowder, a guy that we liked, he wasn't performing like that. Josh Doxson, he was very, very spotty. So the guy that should have been the guy, should have been the number one. And
Brought in to be the guy.
To be the guy. He did not have a good season. He didn't show up. He couldn't get a connection with Kirk Cousins. And I am still over here wondering how the crap did this happen where he didn't have good games. I just don't see it. You had terrible quarterback play last year with the Browns, but yet you have a Kirk Cousins who's trying to get paid. It wants to help you, help him get money, and yet you can't get something going.
Yep. I mean, I'm heavily considering Terrell Pryor being my pick for this.
Wow. All right, man.
131, just wrap up really fast. 131, Brandon Marshall. He was drafted as number 27. Obviously, he got hurt. And then 182 was Allen Robinson. Obviously, he got hurt week 1 as well. Yeah. I lost so many shares of David Johnson and Allen Robinson this year. I'm amazed that I won as many titles as even made the playoffs in as many leagues as I did. I mean, man, that was a rough week 1. So,
is there any way do we have a flex? Can we put a flex position in here and we could just put 2 wide receivers in this thing?
That would defeat the purpose of the exercise, but we're already over our time limit, so we might end up taking this debate into next week's show, or Friday show, rather, when Jason's back. Let him be the tiebreaker. So let's throw some candidates up there, and we'll
all right.
We'll pick our picks, but they won't be final till I guess Friday's show.
I'm still sticking with Mike Evans, just because you drafted him so high, and you got wrapped up in the story.
I just, in good conscience, can't pick Mike Evans just because he still finished as a wide receiver, too. Yes, a letdown and a dud, but when you have players like an Amari Cooper who was drafted not too terribly far behind him and finished barely flex-worthy, players like a Jordy Nelson who were drafted 2 spots behind Mike Evans and didn't even finish as a flex-worthy player, or Terrell Pryor who was drafted not too terribly far back from there even, and triple-digit finish. Oh, I just can't with Mike Evans. Yes, a dud, a letdown, but there are players that were much worse based on capital and where they finished. So, I mean, I'm between Terrell Pryor, Amari Cooper, and Jordy, honestly. I mean, is that fair to you?
I mean, Jordy, once again, I can't blame Jordy just because of the injury at the quarterback position, but
I think he should have done better. But I, like you, know that he would have done better if he had been able to hold on to his quarterback. So out of the 3 of them, he's the one that I think is safest, which leads me to Amari Cooper, where everybody was expecting this to be the sky is the limit type season for him. But he at least finished as a flex-worthy option. And then Terrell Pryor, which, as we just went on a tiny little rant about, he was drafted as, in a lot of places, a number 1 or a high-end number 2 wide receiver, and he was unusable.
Well, because I did end up drafting this guy, and I just flat out just released. I tried to trade him, but of course nobody won him. So I agree with you. You got to put Pryor on there. The jump from being drafted 15 to go all the way to triple digits. That's noteworthy right there.
All right, Terrell Pryor. He will be our leading candidate for the wide receiver position. And let's just rapid fire the tight ends because what a dumpster fire.
I think I know what we're gonna go with, but I'll just go ahead and knock it out.
All right, Julius Thomas finished number 25, drafted as the number 19. Antonio Gates, drafted as the number 21, finished as the number 29. Kobe Fleener, who was drafted as the number 20, he finished as the number 33. Jordan Reed, drafted as the number 4, finished number 43. Greg Olsen, who was drafted as the number 3, he was the number 51. And Tyler Eifert, who was drafted as the number 6, finished as number 89. Now, to be fair, those last 3 guys that we listed here, all 3 went down to injuries at one point or another. So, based on what we've been saying, can we, in good conscience, pick one of these guys as our dud of the year from the tight end position? So, CJ, which way are you going here? Or is there someone that I didn't put on this list that you feel would better represent the dud of the year from the tight end?
No, I'm sticking with Jordan Reed. Just because people refuse to go ahead and just look at this guy and say, hey, look, this is what he is. He's a guy that's inconsistent as far as being able to stay on the field. You can be, and I know we were getting heat when we did our tight end rankings, and we didn't have him where people thought he should be properly positioned as far as our rankings.
No, people want him as the number 2 tight end.
Right. But how honestly, in good conscience, as a show, as far as the quality of the show, can we put a guy number 2 when the dude has yet to play a full season? That's the thing right there that hurts, and you can't honestly put a guy right there. I can't even go on a Tyler Eifert, because Tyler Eifert, he's basically up there with Jordan Reed as well. But I mean, we already know that, so we already have him where he is. He's that mid-level, probably really late tight end that you can probably pick up. And hey, it is what it is when you get with him. Greg Olsen, he's getting up there on age, so I can't really be mad at that. I mean, the injury happened. He ended up coming back. If you held on to him, you were good. But this is a guy, once again, that people were saying that he should be a number 2, and he never, ever showed it this year because he was dealing with injuries throughout.
Yeah, I agree. We break the mold here at tight end. We have to go with Jordan Reed, and for all the reasons you just said. And look, I get the arguments. When he is healthy, holy crap, is he dominant? Is he a mismatch? And we saw glimpses, very brief glimpses, because he got hurt as early as the preseason, but we saw those glimpses. This is why we get flack as a show for not having him as our number, or because people want him to be ranked as our number 2, and we don't. I think we ended up trying to go with the upside here and the potential of, if he played a full season, he could have finished as a number 1. We had him in middle of the pack as a number 1 tight end, but all of us believe truly that it would be a long shot for him to finish there. But the masses of fantasy players, fantasy Twitter, other analysts, I mean, everybody just gets on this guy's bandwagon. I mean, here he was universally drafted as a top 4 tight end, and he finished as the tight end 43. And yes, injuries are not something you can predict. Injuries are not something that you should base all of your things on, except for when it comes to certain players like Jordan Reed, who, as you mentioned, has never played a full season, is always hurt, is always banged up. He's usually playing through an injury. So the upside is there, but he's not a guy I would ever invest anything more than a late-round flyer on if I had a tight end committee on my team. I'm not investing what it would take to get him. Let me see. Jordan Reed, he was actually going, I want to see exactly where people invested draft capital in him. 5th round. He was a 5th-round pick. So, yeah, there's no way. You couldn't pay me to take Jordan Reed in the 5th round. So, yeah, I agree. We'll go with Jordan Reed there. And do we want to give a tentative dud of the year, or do we want to say? I mean, that's the title of the show. We need to crown somebody.
Okay, well, I mean, we got to do the title of the
show. We'll bring Jason into it for the warm up next Friday. This Friday.
I mean, even though I can't stand DeMarco Murray, I'm gonna give him a pass this year, and I'm gonna go with Terrell Pryor. I think that's my dud of the year.
I lean DeMarco Murray as well, but I, for the sake of unison, will go Terrell Pryor just because I don't know. As I'm saying it, I backpedal because DeMarco Murray was so bad.
I want to, but at least he did show up games.
No, but
Pryor didn't even do a bleep thing. How about that?
But
I'll say that.
Okay, but we can put it this way: 5th round pick for Jordan. Oh, I said almost Jordan Reed. Terrell Pryor. Oh no, that was Jordan Reed. Was a 5th round pick. So DeMarco Murray, 2nd round pick though. 2nd round pick to a late 3rd for Terrell Pryor, and the fact that DeMarco Murray was at least relevant at times, making him kind of sneak his way into your lineups. And how valuable running backs are, and we talked about this with our studs. We always kind of lean running back here. I kind of have to go with DeMarco. The more I talk about it, the more I kind of lean that way. It could go either way, honestly, but just the way he kind of lingered around and then brought down another player in the process, I kind of have to lean with DeMarco.
Well, we got to do a part 2 to this next. I mean, we have our finalists. We gotta let Jason break it up. We gotta let it be the tie.
And on that bombshell, I guess we'll get out of here.
To be continued.
Yeah, to be continued. We'll probably knock this out in the warm-up on Friday. And there's so many more players we could have talked about, but these are just some of the ones that stood out to us. Comment down below if you're on YouTube or you're subscribed, or send us a Twitter message at the FF Fanatics on Twitter, at the FF Fanatics. If you have anyone else that you if you agree, disagree with this list, any additional thoughts, other players that you think we should take into consideration, and I guess we'll give you guys a final answer on Friday's show, and we will hopefully have Jason back. So yeah, make sure you guys tune in on Friday. Any parting thoughts before we sign off, CJ?
Man, congratulations to Alabama winning their 5th championship. Roll Tide.
There they go. It was
it was a game.
They do that.
Yeah.
That's what they do, especially as of late. So yeah, make sure you guys subscribe wherever you're listening. We'll see you on the Patreon show. If not, we will see you on Friday. Take care, guys. Bye.
Peace.